Fellow Liberals, thank you for electing me to serve for another term as your State President. This year, we celebrate our Platinum Jubilee, the 70th anniversary of the foundation of the Liberal Party of Australia in 1944. Our party was built on Australia's long heritage of Liberal values and ideals, and its driving force was our own Robert Gordon Menzies. Victoria and the Victorian Division have always been at the heart of our party. Last week, as Caroline said, we marked this anniversary with the largest state council dinner ever held. Over 1,000 party members and supporters heard from Premier Denis Napthine, Julie Bishop, and our greatest living Prime Minister, John Howard. It was a wonderful evening and a great celebration. And over this weekend, we'll be bringing you video highlights of the last 70 years from time to time. Delegates, we are proud of the generation that founded and then built our party, a number of whom are here today. This year, to mark our 70th anniversary, we've introduced a special lapel pin for those who've served the party as members for 50 years or more. The 50-year pins have been sent out this week, together with the 25-year pins we reintroduced last year for those who have achieved that milestone. I would ask everyone who's been a member of our great party for more than 25 years, including our founding generation, to stand now to be acknowledged by Council. Thank you, all of you, for everything you've done for the party and your contribution to our success. Over the course of this State Council weekend, we will hear from our leaders and debate ideas that will make a real difference to people's lives. And as Robert Menzies knew, people and ideas are what politics is all about. I thank Caroline Elliott and the Agenda Committee and the Policy Forum conveners led by Fred Ackerman for putting together such a strong program. Delegates, last September, Tony Abbott and his team won the federal election. 5 years of Labor deficits, debt and chaos have left the new government with an enormous task. And in the traditions of previous Liberal governments, Tony and his team have already begun turning the country around, restoring the nation's finances and laying the foundation for a stronger economy with more jobs. As the revolutionary trade agreements, negotiated by our very own Andrew Robb and signed by Tony this week, demonstrate, Australia is again open for business. Later today, we'll be hearing from our leader in the Senate, Eric Abetz, who will brief us on the government's progress and priorities. Last November in Lorne, I provided a detailed report on the federal election result in Victoria, and Dr. David Kemp delivered his very comprehensive review of the campaign. It would be remiss of me, however, not to say, once again today, that our victory last September was tinged with regret. We are all disappointed that we lost the seat of Indi and the 3rd Senate spot. And on behalf of all delegates, I thank Sophie Mirabella and Helen Kroger for their huge contributions to the federal parliament and their passion and commitment for our cause. Delegates, our next great challenge is on November 29. In 231 days, we will all be manning the polling booths again, and we need to make every one of them count. The state election must be our focus this year. Through sound budgeting and economic management, the state government has reversed the waste and neglect that Victorians experienced under 11 years of Labor. The state budget on 6 May is when all that hard work comes together. Denis Napthine and his team will be outlining our plan to build a better future for Victoria, delivering the services and building the infrastructure Victorians expect while responsibly managing the state's finances. Our hard-working State Treasurer Michael O'Brien is here this morning, and welcome, Michael. Victoria simply cannot afford to go backwards to Labor's empty promises, slogans and governments by and for special interests, like the infamous CFMEU. Tomorrow, we will have the opportunity to welcome Premier Denis Napthine and hear his vision for Victoria. The election in November will be critical for Victoria and for Australia. But Labor Party is out of government nationally and in almost every state. They are determined to regroup. And to do that, they need to win in one of the big states, with all the resources that we'll put at their disposal. We will therefore face a campaign of a scale and intensity that we have never seen before. The combined forces of Labor and the union movement from right around Australia will be directed here, to this campaign against our state government. Labor are well funded and they are desperate. I'm firmly convinced, however, that working together we will prevail. But it will take a concerted effort at every level of the party, from the parliamentary leadership, our MPs and candidates, the Secretariat, the campaign teams, the electorate conferences, and all our party members. Delegates, since the redistribution was finalised late last year, we've moved quickly to select our candidates for the upcoming fight. By Easter next week, we'll have endorsed candidates in 55 seats, including all those held by Labor, with a margin of less than 10%. By the end of this month, we will have selected our candidates for the Liberal-held positions in the upper house, and we will then call for nominations for the remaining seats. I take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the 8 members of Parliament who have retired or announced that they will be doing so in November. Philip Davis, Andrea Coote, Nick Kotsiris, Andrew McIntosh, Ken Smith, David Koff, and Jan Kronberg have all served their communities, the Parliament and the people of Victoria, and above all, the Liberal Party, with a distinction, and we thank them. Donna Petrovich bravely stepped down last year to contest the seat of McEwen in the federal election, achieving a swing of over 9%. But I know that she will be back as the next member for Macedon. With almost 1 in 6 of our representatives retiring, we've taken the opportunity to renew, and there will be many new faces joining our team after November. Delegates, together we've chosen a great team of MPs and candidates. They are all drawn from their local communities, share the concerns and aspirations of their neighbours, and are working to meet the needs of their electorates. And I would ask that all our MPs and candidates, state and federal, stand to be acknowledged by Council. Please stand. Thank you all for everything that you are doing to stand up for our values and to carry our message to the electorate. The pre-selection season has again demonstrated the huge gulf between our open and democratic processes and the factionalised and union-dominated farce of Labor. Thousands of Liberal Party members across the state have been involved in choosing our candidates, and I thank all of you who have participated. To those members who nominated but were not successful, your commitment to our cause is greatly appreciated. We know that you will fully support this year's campaigns, and we hope that you will try again in the future. Pre-selection is one of our most testing tasks. Competition in the party is at its most intense, and that is because there is much at stake for the candidates, the party, and the community. We should always remember, however, that pre-selections are only part of a much larger picture. Our shared aim is to work together to ensure a good government is returned in November. Delegates, State Director Damien Mantak is in charge of our election preparations, and he will brief us on the statewide campaign shortly. We've distributed to all delegates today materials setting out our key election messages. We've expanded resources to ensure that we give the candidates and electorate conferences the support they need to run strong campaigns on the ground. The State Seats Committee, chaired by Peter McWilliam, has been meeting with candidates and electorate conferences regarding their local preparations. What will give us the critical edge over Labor, however, is your active involvement in the campaign. There are many ways that we can all be part of it: letterboxing, door knocking, on street walks, at listening posts, attending community forums and fundraising events, and manning campaign offices and polling booths. Or even just talking to your friends, family and colleagues, promoting our positive agenda and repudiating Labor's lies. I take this opportunity to acknowledge our electorate chairmen, executives and campaign managers. You will play a critical role in this year's election. We understand the commitment involved and we appreciate all your work. Delegates, our third task is to raise the money to match Labor and the unions. The cost of campaigns continues to rise. We face a Labor Party with millions of dollars conscripted from their union base. In the last state election in 2010, they spent nearly twice as much as we did. Last week, the CFMEU announced it was setting up a $3 million fighting fund for paid advertising and community campaigning. And we all know where that's going to be used, in our marginal seats. Our MPs, candidates, branches and local electorate conferences are all working hard to raise the money needed to support our local campaigns, and I thank you for your efforts. At the central level, Enterprise 500 Victoria, which we launched just over 2 years ago, has been well received by the corporate sector and is now Victoria's premier fundraising forum. Our final task is to help our parliamentary team develop the right policies to take to the election, policies that will capture the public's imagination. And that is what this State Council is all about, making the most of the interests and expertise of our members. This afternoon, as we've heard, we have a plenary forum on the government's jobs plan, which will be a key issue for the next election. Our policy forums will be meeting to make sure that our ministers know the issues which we believe are most important to Victorians, and to give members a real opportunity for meaningful policy discussion. The forum conveners have already had 2 roundtable discussions this year with Deputy Leader Louise Asher to propose ideas for inclusion in our election policies. Delegates, it is now over 5 years since we undertook the necessary task of renewing the Victorian Liberal Party. And as a result of that work, we are growing and our party has a new vitality. In the last 12 months alone, over 2,000 people have joined us in the Victorian Liberal Party. Some of the biggest growth has been in Labor seats. During the federal election, we rolled out a Volunteer for Change website, which attracted hundreds of new members and eager volunteers. Our 1,000 members in 5 weeks campaign exceeded expectations, and on average we received a new membership application every 96 minutes during the election campaign. We have welcomed many of our new members at events and workshops organised by Fiona Ogilvie-O'Donnell and the Membership Development Committee. Some of these eager new members will be in your electorate, and I'd ask you please to make sure that you involve them locally and get them out on the campaign trail with you before November. Frank Greenstein and his Communities Engagement Committee have a strategy to reach out to different communities, and our message is resonating. Last May, Tony Abbott addressed almost 1,000 guests at our annual multicultural dinner in Clayton. Next month, we'll be holding this year's dinner in Epping with State Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Minister Guy. During the federal campaign, we held an old-fashioned political rally at the showgrounds where over 2,000 members welcomed Tony, John Howard, Julie Bishop and Joe Hockey. And we hosted Tony and all of his front bench team from around Australia at the largest political fundraising dinner in Victoria's history. Together with our 70th anniversary dinner last week, this is just a snapshot of what we've been doing. The training committee led by Jane Hume has already held prospective candidates training this year on a very compressed timetable because of the state election, and the Future Leaders program is well underway. To allow our members to make the most of campaigning opportunities this election year, we will again be running activist and volunteer courses. And this training can give us a vital local edge, and I would encourage you to get involved. The chairman of the Rural and Regional Committee, Norma Wells, is clocking up many miles as she works hard to stay in touch with party members everywhere. We've continued to improve internal communications and our weekly email in the loop. And this week, you will have received the latest edition of our party magazine, Liberal. And we expect 1,200 people to attend at least one session this weekend. I don't know about you, but I enjoy coming to State Council and meeting new members, as well as seeing old friends. Delegates, we all belong to the Liberal Party. And if we are to achieve our common objective of winning in November, it is vital that we all work together. People who like to leak or to carp and criticise to make themselves look or feel important, or those self-appointed pundits who talk down our prospects while doing little to help secure victory, are not acting in the interests of the Liberal Party. And I ask everyone in this room to remember this the next time you see something in the media or hear some gossip about internal party affairs. If we become distracted by internal politics, if we again give way to factionalism, we will lose the confidence of the public in the same way Labor has. Factions, fiefdoms and tribes are not the Liberal Party way. One of the great things about last year's federal election is that we did all work together and we won. And this is a powerful reminder. It is one that we must heed to succeed in November. We all have different opinions and ideas, and I firmly believe that discussing these makes us stronger. But the place for these debates is between us, inside the appropriate party forums, not in the public arena. Delegates, on behalf of the Liberal Party, I thank our members of Parliament and candidates for taking the fight up to Labor and the Greens on our behalf. Thank you also to those who've served on the Administrative Committee this year, in particular my Vice Presidents Frank Greenstein, Sandra Mercer-Moore, Norma Wells and Peter McWilliam. Aaron Lane stood down as the Young Liberal President during the year. I thank him for his leadership of the YLs during the federal election and welcome his successor, Simon Breeny. 2014 also marks 110 years since the foundation of the Australian Women's National League, which became part of our party as the Liberal Women's Council. And I congratulate the Council and its chairman, Carol Walters, on achieving this milestone and thank all its members. Sam Ozturk is not contesting today's elections for the Administrative Committee after being pre-selected as our candidate for Yan Yean, and Chris Earl stood down earlier this year. I will miss their contributions around the table and wish them all the best. I again draw attention to the work of State Director Damien Mantak and express my appreciation to Damien and all the Secretariat staff for their ongoing efforts. I acknowledge the support of the Cormac Foundation and the fundraising efforts of Enterprise 500 Victoria, and thank the Cormac directors and the Enterprise Advisory Board and Executive Directors. With us this morning are the Federal President, Alan Stockdale, Federal Vice Presidents Richard Alston, Danielle Blaine and Tom Harley, and Brian Loughnane, the Federal Director, and his Deputy Julian Sheasel. Thank you all for your support of the Victorian Division, and well done last year. To those members who are standing for election at this State Council, especially those who are standing for the first time, I acknowledge your commitment to the Liberal Party, and I wish you all good luck. Most importantly, I thank the many people who worked on our campaigns right across Victoria over the last year, including more than 8,000 who handed out for our candidates on election day. You truly are the heart and soul of the Liberal Party. Delegates, our parliamentary teams do not win elections on their own. Our victory last September illustrates Menzies' vision at work. Thousands of volunteers, members and supporters, working with our leader, MPs and candidates to give Australians a real choice. We all belong to a great party, a party with a long and proud tradition, a party that Australians have always been able to rely on to provide the leadership that has made this country and this state one of the most prosperous and tolerant places in the world. The key to our success is in this room, in the great voluntary organisation that is the grassroots Liberal Party. We have a huge task ahead of us this year, but it is one we have prepared for. Working together, we won last year, and we will do it again in November. Thank you.